All right. Good morning and good afternoon, wherever you're zooming in from. This is the World Changer Show for those of you that are building teams in only the best industry in the entire world, the networking industry, where you can have freedom and create wealth but more importantly, do it while having a life. And I am here with a world changer. In fact, one of the first people we decided to do when we decided to start this series is the person that you're going to learn from today. Her name is Lauren Santagate. So I'm excited to have Lauren on here because she's actually been building in this industry now for over 7 years, and she made a few $1,000s her first 4 years. But I want to really find out. I want to dive deep for those of you that maybe you haven't had success before, maybe you had a little success before. How did Lauren go from that to doing, and we don't even know the exact number, so we're going to be really conservative when I was asking her, but I think the numbers are higher, but I'm just going to say at least 30 million in sales over the last 3 years. And I know she's just getting started with the current team that she has. So I'm excited to have a world changer, a mom of 3, right, Lauren?
Mm-hmm. Yep, 3.
Married to a big burly guy named John. And so it's exciting to have you here. So thank you so much for taking the time away from your busy momhood and businesshood to be here on our live show.
Yeah, I'm pumped. Thank you for having me. This is great.
Yeah, it's an honor. It's an honor to have you here. In fact, yeah, it's just super, super exciting. So let's go ahead and just dive in. And just real quick, Lauren, how did you ever decide to get involved? Did you come from corporate background? What was your background before getting involved in this crazy industry?
Yeah, so I was in corporate America. I worked in, believe it or not, I worked in the premium beverage industry, aka the liquor industry, and ran events and marketing campaigns for lots of very well-known suppliers, brands, things like that. Did a lot of programming, loved it, loved the fast-paced nature of it, learned a ton, and then, did what I ultimately said I would never do, became a stay-at-home mom once I started to have kids. So background in corporate was for, 12, 13 years. Yeah.
And what made you, what gave you the transition now into this industry? Was it something that you ever thought you would do?
I didn't even know this industry existed. To be honest, I loved my career. It was challenging. It paid great. It had clearly some great perks, obviously. But it was the type of industry where you could really never escape your job. It wasn't a 9 to 5. It wasn't somewhere where I went to the office, sat there and then went home and kind of left my work. It was constant, and it was weekends, and it was late nights and early mornings. And so it really became a little bit of a burnout situation because I was traveling a ton. I was probably working an average of 65 to 70 hours a week. Again, this is pre-kids, so I didn't mind because I didn't have anything else going on. But that shift happened about a year into being a mom. I realized I just couldn't do it anymore because I was literally, my oldest was only a baby at the time, but I had nothing left at the end of the day, and I could really turn off. And so I didn't know this industry even existed. I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't think it was real. You hear those stories about people making a lot of money and having time freedom, and you're like, yeah, well, those people have something you don't have, or that I don't have. And when I finally kind of grasped the concept of it, it was like, why didn't someone tell me this, 10, 15 years ago? Because I would have been all in then, but I didn't know.
It's crazy. Well, and how did you actually find the industry?
A friend of mine, actually my neighbor, when we lived in New Jersey, invited me to an event. She said, come over to this event. My friend's involved with this company. Just come for a night out, escape your baby, escape your husband, come into the city for a couple hours. And I was like, okay, sounds good. I'll be there. I'll go with you. And that was kind of like my trip into this industry. It was very much the idea of brands compensating you for sharing them was super foreign. And I came home that night and I was like, okay, but I still had my career and I still made good money. But I started to just kind of think a little bit because, of course, you hear those stories of, oh, I get to be home with my kids, or, oh, I get to go to the park in the middle of the day and not have your boss calling you saying, where are you? You need to be on a Zoom call that's happening right at that time. It probably wasn't Zoom. So, yeah, it was definitely not on purpose. It was very much by accident that I found it. But, thank God I did. Thank God.
That's amazing. And so how did it go? Are you one of those people that instantly like boom and right to the top, or like most people, it was a learning curve? How did it go your first few months to a year?
You want to know the craziest story? So I signed up to be a distributor with my first company. Because the company I'm with now is actually my third company. So I signed up with my first company to be a distributor, and I sent a very nice professional email out to all my girlfriends that I went to college with, excited to get started, thinking they're all going to be like, yeah, I'll definitely try stuff. Yeah, I'll do that with you. That sounds awesome. And I got 0 responses, not even like a good luck message. I got 0 responses, and it made me shut down. And so I took that box of products and I put it in the corner of my bedroom at my house. And I didn't do anything for an entire year after that. An entire
No.
year. Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh.
Now you all wonder.
Why? Because of that.
What?
Because high hopes and what? Why?
Because the second those girls, those friends of mine didn't respond, it made me question what I was doing. If they would have responded with, "Oh my gosh, this is awesome, we'll do it with you," totally different trajectory. But because they didn't respond at all, I immediately thought, what about, I remember Googling, is network marketing I remember Googling those things. Is it a pyramid scheme? How do I get out of this? I Googled that, but granted, I also probably had a little bit of, I was overtired and, overworked. I was a new mom, but you kind of, the second you don't get that outside validation, you start to question yourself. So I did. And I did not, I actually took the box with me of product after not even, I wasn't even using the products at this point. They just sat there. I actually took it with me from my house in New Jersey and brought it on our move back up to the Boston area and put it right back in the corner of my new bedroom at my new house. So you kind of hear those stories sometimes of people, starting and then getting beat down and not restarting. I'm here to tell you that you can restart. It's just sometimes you have to go through the season and you have to kind of realize, all right, do I really need that approval from those friends, or can I just try it, a little bit? But to answer your question, I did not have a fast start. I didn't know what I was doing. It was a disaster. I didn't know how to use social media. I don't have, and I still don't have a huge network necessarily. I didn't go to a big college. I didn't grow up in a big town. I know a lot of people, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything. Sometimes I just happen to know a lot of people. So no, it was messy. It was a little bit disastrous. It was the posting that made no sense and was super salesy and kind of out of the left field. It didn't have any rhyme or reason, but I sat and I watched for, I would try and then I'd kind of sit, watch a little bit more, try. And then I remember I finally got my first customer like 3 months in, like 3 months into the full year that had already gone by. After that, got a customer and then got a couple other customers. And that just kind of kickstarted it. That was like that little bit of fire was all I needed. But still, there was no fast rise to the top. It was a grind because, again, it was learning a whole new skill set. It was marketing in a way I had never marketed before. And it was really just understanding, like, how do you use social media, And this was, 6 years ago at that point, or 7 years ago. So it was a different world too, but it was not a fast climb. It was messy. So, back sometimes you see those videos of people doing their first lives. My videos are terrifying to watch because they were bad. They were horrible.
Wow. It's to be honest, because I obviously know your story, right? I know, or what you've done over the last 3 years, because I've seen you go from getting started with your current company, doing 30 million in sales, actually becoming the #1 earner. And you weren't the first person that got started, or the second, or the first month, or the second, but you came in a little bit later and still became the top earner last year in the entire company. So congratulations for that, which is awesome. And you have a huge team. So it's wild to think, Lauren, that you almost missed this thing because you did it a way that probably doesn't work, right? Right. Just talk about that really quickly, right? Because I hear that over and over from professionals. Usually it's always sales professionals or executives or people that come from traditional corporate backgrounds. It's like, oh, I'm just going to send out a professional, right? So what would you say to people when they're like, hey, I'm just going to send it out to my list, my email, my list, or text broadcast everybody all at the same time? Would you ever recommend that?
No, clearly it didn't work for me. But again, you don't know what you don't know. And you only can do the things that you do know. And that was my background. I was sending professional emails for, close to 15 years. So no, I wouldn't do that. I would have actual intimate conversations one-on-one, at least when I'm getting started, because I think there's a lot more impact to be made, and you can tailor what you say to somebody based on who they are and how you know them and what they're looking for potentially, and how you can help, kind of solve that. But yeah, I mean, it is crazy to think, and it's not lost on me. Let me tell you, we talk about this all the time, my husband and I. It is crazy to think that I almost let this slip out of my hands.
Wow.
Because you don't understand the enormity of the industry. Again, even when I started, I really just looked at it very transactionally. I didn't have any basis of understanding that you could make tens of thousands of dollars a month. In my head, doing well was making 500. I didn't know what people were making. And then all of a sudden I remember hearing these stories about women who were making 30, 40, 50K a month. And I was like, what? Are you kidding me? Like, how is that even possible? But when you start to understand the structure of the industry and of whatever business you're in, you start to kind of think a little bit more intentionally and strategically. And I think for me, when that light bulb went on of, oh, I can build an organization, I can actually build a structure here. That was where it all sort of changed. And it went hyper transactional to, okay, like, let's do this.
Yeah. So you finally decided to get going with your business in your last company. And how did it go? Did you reach the top of that rank in that company?
No, not even close. I would say, I was making more than $0, but I was a probably low to mid-level leader. I had a small team. Not many of them were working. I did not know how to empower them to be resourceful. If anything, I was more managing them than I was actually leading them, which was a huge mistake. Spent a lot of time. And again, it leads to burnout because you assume people want certain things. They don't have those same goals. And all of a sudden, you're sitting there every day trying to come up with motivational quotes for a crew of people that really might not want to build a business. And so it was, I did okay.
Well, let's talk about this because no one ever thinks they're in management mode. So Lauren, what are some key ingredients that you might be in management mode? If you're watching this right now, by the way, real quick, if you are watching this, how long have you been in your current company? And back to you, Lauren, what is management mode? What are just some highlights that you would say to watch out for so people don't get into management mode? Because almost no one thinks they are, but I know obviously that they are usually. What are some of the ingredients?
The number one biggest thing is this: if you're spending more time worrying about other people on your team and their business than you are on your own business, you're in management mode. I mean, that's always the gut check, right? You need to be spending 90% of your time growing your own business. And I was not doing that. I was probably doing the flip side. I was probably spending 10 to 20% of my time on my own business, and 80 to 90%, again, trying to motivate, trying to inspire, kind of dragging people across that finish line at month's end, being like, you're so close. But what I realized over time, and maybe you can kind of agree with this, maybe, is that you can't motivate somebody who's not motivated, because it has to come from within. No matter what you say, no matter what you do, no matter how much you try to get somebody going, they have to make the decision to take that first step. And no matter how good I am or what I say, it doesn't matter until they're ready. And it always goes back to the idea of the day somebody enrolls, the day somebody starts might not be the day they actually want to get to work. And so,
well, say that again, because when you said that, I actually heard you on a team call talk about that. And it was one of those life moments that I'm going to leverage, give you credit 1-2 times. Say that again really quickly.
Yeah. The day somebody enrolls or the day somebody signs up, what is the actual saying? The day somebody enrolls and the day somebody actually gets to work are typically 2 different days. They're not usually the same.
Wow. So much job to understand that.
Right. They definitely were. It took me a year.
Holy cow. That's crazy. So, okay. So you were a mid to low level financial leader in the making with your last company. And then you transitioned to another company, right? And how'd that go?
That was a disaster. Talk about crashing and burning. I had, you get a taste of what real success in this industry can be when you start to understand that the people in your upline who have massive organizations and have built these huge, huge teams, you're like, oh, well, I want that. And I remember thinking, if they can do it, I can do it too. They don't have anything that I can't get or I can't learn. But I went to that second company kind of chasing that, shiny penny. And I will fully admit I did that. I got caught up in some hype I didn't do research. I didn't necessarily look at, was this going to be a good fit? Was it in alignment with where I wanted to go? It was more like they had something I wanted, which was education, which I will never regret going to that second company because I learned more stuff in that year and a half. It was so invaluable, but the actual company, the products, it was not a good fit. So I soaked up as much as I could, but as far as, did I financially succeed? Absolutely not. I crashed and burned and hardly made any money over the course of almost 2 years. But what I learned, for me, making no money was the trade-off, because I was learning so much about how to posture and communicate how powerful this industry is. And it taught me actually how to go build a business and not just how to, manage a team, or, do it on hype and do it on rah-rah and all this stuff. People like, join my team, I have one spot left. And it was like, please don't do that. Don't do that. So it was an amazing learning experience. I will be forever grateful to the people that I look at as mentors over there, because they taught me a ton about what to do, but more importantly, they taught me so much about what not to do. And it equipped me 100% to come to where I am now and be knowledgeable enough to do things the right way and create systems and culture and things like that were actually in alignment with who I am and who I want everyone else, to feel like what I want everyone else to feel like they're a part of being here.
Yeah. So it sounds like you kind of like high school, you went through your freshman year, you completely bombed. Then you figured out a little bit in your sophomore year, junior year, and then you finally became a senior within your fourth year going to your new company. And what happened when you kind of pulled it all together with your third business that you started?
Well, what happened was over the course of, those 4 years or 4.5 years with the other companies, I had just met a ton of people, and I knew it was a lesson my parents always taught me: don't burn bridges, right? You learn it in corporate America, you learn it in relationships, but you don't want to burn bridges. And so I did have a big network of people who were very similar to me. They were moms, they were women, they were in maybe not the network marketing space, but the digital world a little bit, or they were people with corporate careers that were looking for a little bit more time freedom and that flexibility. And so, now I just forgot your question.
What finally clicked when you got into your third company?
Right. So my point of saying all that was, I realized everyone has a network, and those people, they know you, they like you, they trust you. You've built a network over the course of your entire life. Maybe you didn't mean to, but you did. And you have people that respect you and will listen to you. And so rather than just blasting things out, I said, okay, how can I do this methodically? How is this going to make sense? How am I going to introduce this to people I want to actually share it with? And by the way, I think the best thing I did in decide who I wanted to share this with versus just cast that like huge wide net and say, okay, I'm taking whoever wants to be here. I was looking for specific people that I knew I vibed with, that I knew I could work really well with. And that was a game changer, because it brought incredible people in who had similar mindsets, similar goals, and we all just started working together towards that common goal, which was huge.
That's awesome. Very cool. And so what were if you had the knowledge that you had now, could you have gone back to your first company and multiplied that even more? Like, what would you have done? What would you do differently right now? Like, if you were starting, how would you, what could you have done to learn faster? What could you have done to not have such a long learning curve?
Well, I think when you're with your first company, you don't realize how big this industry is. I mean, it's a small industry, but it's a big industry. There's a lot of different opportunities out there. There's a lot of different leadership styles, but I didn't know that. In my head, I assumed all compensation plans were the same. I didn't know they were different. I didn't know to look into them and say, okay, how do I need to strategically build to maximize the I didn't know to look for leadership that I really respected. I didn't know types of people. All these little sort of fall. But I mean, I would go back. I would automate or systemize as much as possible, because at my first company, I was doing everything. I was spending hours onboarding only to then have somebody never actually launch. And you know what that does to you? It crushes you. It crushes your abilities. I would just very clearly define, here's how we operate, and really get those like standards of operating down so that everybody can plug in and have that equal opportunity of success. That's huge. That's probably the number one thing I would go back and do.
It's awesome. What would be a few like key nuggets? Everybody thinks they need this like there's this super galactic getting started process. Like everybody's like, if I just had this one getting started, I know my team would duplicate. What would you say to that? Like that part of like, and what would you do? Like, what do you do for your launch? And it just basic nuggets.
For my own personal launch, you mean?
Sure, your personal launch of new people that you're bringing on board, and then
I think the real key is people have to just get started. We have this feeling that we have to know everything. We have to learn all these things and know exactly what we're going to say. And I will say, for once in my life, I was completely unprepared, underprepared maybe, when I started with this third company. I didn't know what I was talking about. I mean, I was getting on info sessions, Zooms with people sharing about the company, and they were asking very, very simple questions like, what's the return policy, or where's the company? I had no idea. But I think that helped me because I learned as I went, and it didn't stop me. I wasn't stuck in that phase of constant training where you make training an excuse to not take action. So for anybody that comes on board here, the first step is just get to action. The basic information. You don't need to know all the other stuff. You will find out when somebody asks you, because I think so much of what stops people or freezes them in their tracks in this industry, or really in anything, is that unknown. Like, you're a planner. I'm a planner. I'm a type A. I'm crazy control freak. I don't even like walking when I don't know the hostess. My husband go first. I don't like the unknown, but the unknown, to just go speak from your heart, or like speak from that like gut instinct versus what you think you should do. It's just kind of like you do what you know to do versus what you think is the perfect thing to say or do. And so, it's always like that analysis paralysis, and everyone's like, I got to know this, I got to know that. I'm not sure. I'll start next month when and it's like, no, you really don't need anything. You just need to open your mouth and connect with the people that you've already got relationships with, because they already know and like you. They're going to, no matter what. It doesn't have to be perfect. And actually, the less perfect it is, the better off you are, because then it's relatable. If you're perfect, you're a weirdo. No one, that's just not normal. That's not the way people start off. And you want to show other people like, hey, I was a disaster. I'm still learning. I don't know all the answers. That's okay. Once you kind of settle into that idea of it's okay not to know, you'll figure it out when you need to figure it out. It takes a lot of pressure off yourself, and then you just.
So good. Do you think it would have been any different if you would have known everything about the policies of the company, the back office, the compens? Like, if you'd have known all the things, do you think your recruiting ratio in the beginning of you launching your third company would have been any different?
I think my third company, no, I think it probably would have been lower. Because
isn't that weird? Isn't that wild?
Yeah, because no one really needs to know that. No one really needs to know. I mean, yes, they need to have the resources to go find out. But the decision-making process, I mean, usually for most people, there is some sort of gut instinct. You want to say yes or no. It's like, what is your gut telling you? I think if I would have known more, it would have slowed me down, because I would have been taking all that time, and I would have missed out on the opportunity to just follow the energy versus just, I don't know.
What do you think are and I know we kind of going deep into this real quick, because it's a big one for a lot of people, because they struggle so much and they don't have to. Mm-hmm. Sharp, good people skills, big dreams, big goals, desire, still don't come out of the gate having success. What would you say? Like, what is the real, like, what do they really need to do? And the mindset, or what is it they really need to do to have success out of the gate?
Well, I think it's a little bit of an ego thing, and it's not an ego thing in a bad way. It's that your ego protects you. You don't want to look stupid. You don't want to not know what you're doing. You don't want to fail. And so we prepare and we prepare and we prepare. But then if you're not actually going anywhere, what are you preparing for? So I think you've got to get yourself, and I've learned this from quite a few people now, but you've got to detach yourself from the outcome. You've got to really just focus on, what can I control? I can control how I feel. I can control the activity I take part in, but I can't control somebody saying yes or somebody saying no, or somebody, tell me more. I can only control what I can physically do. And so you've got to kind of take that relationship with the outcome and that pressure you put on yourself out of it. And really it just comes down to taking the emotion out of it. This is not about you. It's about, what do you have to serve other people with?
So mic drop. So take out the emotion. It's not about you. And as you're speaking this, unfortunately, this is why so many people just don't do that simple thing. It's so simple, but so many people don't do that their first week, their first month. Sometimes they have to go through a year and they're like, okay, it's not working. I better just not worry about what people are thinking. So good.
And it's hard. I mean, we all go through life and we all wonder, people are judging us. What are people thinking? Guess what? They're judging you and going to think whatever they want anyway. It doesn't matter how well prepared you are or how unprepared you are. It really doesn't make a difference. But it just comes down to, you're never going to be fully ready. It's like anything in life. If you look back at the things that you kind of get thrust into, like parenthood, or I mean, even your first day at a new job when you're going to work for somebody else, you go to that job because you need a paycheck, right? You want some sort of stability, whatever you want to call it, but you don't know how to do your job. You're going to have to be trained. You're going to have to be onboarded. Someone's going to have to show you how to do those computer, spreadsheets. You don't know on day one, but for some reason we've all been okay with the idea of, well, our boss will tell us. It's okay if we don't know. But now when it's on you, it's a totally different perspective. And so it's just this idea of, if you really think back, I mean, if you're a parent, you were not prepared for your first kid. I mean, I'm not sure I'm still prepared, almost 10 years into having kids. You don't know what's going to come at you, but you just react as you need to, as things happen. You learn as you go. And I think if you really look at anybody who's super successful, whether it's in this space or anywhere, it wasn't about how prepared they were. Yes, they were semi-prepared. Yeah, of course they did some research, but it wasn't perfect. And they tweaked over time and they fell down and they got back up and they got better. It's going to be a bomb your first time. And it should be, because how are you ever going to teach somebody else how to do this if you don't bomb your first time?
So
if
good.
I bombed, I wouldn't be able to say to somebody, listen, it's going to be messy. It's going to feel weird. You're going to hate the fact that you have to learn as you go, but lean into it, get very comfortable with it, because it's the only way you're going to succeed here.
So good. There's only a few times where I see people not bomb their first time. It's when they just came out of a divorce or their boss just fired them and they have no money for their family. They don't think, they don't analyze, they don't make it about them. They don't worry. They just literally blind, confident energy. And in those rare situations, I see people like, boom. And there's other situations too. There's other people that have just some really good talent and confidence in the beginning.
But I mean, honestly, it's like when there's no back door to escape from, that's usually, let's just go. If you always have, it's like that saying, like, you can't steal second with your foot on first, right?
Boom.
You can't, if you've got that like safety net that, oh, well, here's my easy out in case this doesn't work in your back pocket, you're never go. You're going to overanalyze. You're going to worry. You're going to take forever to actually go. But when you're in between a rock and a hard place, right? Like my husband was like, you're going to have to go back to work when our third kid goes to kindergarten. And I was like, hell no, I'm not going back to work for somebody else. No way. What do I do? Well, I'm going to find somewhere that aligns with what I want to do in my life. And I'm going to go and I'm going to blow it up. And so there wasn't another option. It was either like, you're going back to work, which was my worst case scenario, or you're going to go all in here. And so there was never that hesitation. It was just, let's go. And I think that's really what it comes down to. When you don't have another option, this is where it's like you do put all your eggs in one basket because you don't have another option. And that's a good thing, because then that it's going to be natural and organic, that people are like, what is he doing?
So good. Well, listen, my wife and I, of course, we love learning from you. We've grown so much. We're honored to have you in the same business with us. So we get to kind of pop in to see what you're doing and see your growth. And we learn so much from you. So, and we also I love watching you on the socials. You are truly having fun. You're having freedom. You're always skiing like pretty much every weekend in the winter, having fun in the summer. So you're really have a freedom type, leverage type lifestyle now because of what you've done. Can you talk about just really quickly? And by the way, because I only have like 2 minutes left, where do people follow you at? Like what's your socials, or where?
Follow me is Lauren P. Santagate on Instagram.
Yeah. And we'll put that in the comments and wherever. Yeah. Someone can, if you're watching the replay of this, and if you're watching the replay of this, if you have any questions or anything, maybe Lauren, for sure, I'll pop in here and answer questions. I know a lot of you are watching this on the replay right now because I just kind of went impromptu with Lauren here just a little bit ago. So thank you for popping on here. First off,
Yeah.
it's been an honor. I know we can go for hours because you have so much knowledge of what you've learned over the last few years in building your business. What would you like to depart and just share, like, really, what does it take? What would you do now? What are you doing now? Like, what does it really take to make it in this industry?
I think you need to really sit down and get super, super clear on what it is you want. And I'm not talking about in this industry or, a certain rank or nothing like that. I'm talking get really clear on what you want your life to look like in 5 years or in 10 years. Because then what you can start to do is almost pull out everything that isn't going to get you any closer to that life and really prioritize the things that are. And it allows you to say, okay, this isn't important. I can say no to that. This isn't a priority. I can say no to that. It lets you really make decisions much easier, hard decisions much easier because they either align with where you're going or they don't. And I would just say, you need to decide that. Talk about it, with your spouse or whoever, but really think about it for yourself too. Because for me, where I want to be is I want to be doing what I want to do with who I want to do it with whenever I want. And I want to be able to say no to what I don't want to do and yes to every single thing I do. And I don't want to have to check with somebody else to say, can I have time off? Can I go on vacation? Can I clock out early, for my kid's baseball game? Absolutely not. And now that I've gotten a taste of it, I know that every single decision I make is getting me closer and closer and closer to really taking everything out of my life that it's no longer serving me, and out of our lives. And so just get super clear on that because it lets you guide yourself so much more seamlessly. And then you say, okay, here's what I'm prioritizing. I can go all in because we all have full plates and life is chaotic, but most of our full plates are full of stuff that doesn't actually matter.
Yeah, so good.
Got to get clear on.
Lauren, you are a world changer. You're a top 1%er of not only the entire industry, you're the top earner in the company that you're in right now. And we're so proud of you. I'm so excited I know it's just the beginning of the beginning of the beginning. So by the way, make sure you go to the Instagram or the different socials where Lauren is at. We'll put the link or her socials in here or follow her on social media. Drop her a link and let her know that she's amazing. And thank you so much, Lauren, for being a world changer on the World Changer show here for team building in the network marketing industry. And you are amazing. So thank you very much for being here.
I love this.
Yeah, you're awesome. Well, have a great day. I know you got to run and schedule.
All right. Thanks, Tom. Bye, guys.
Bye, Lauren.